Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Shua Allegra, and I've been interviewing some of my very good friends who also happen to be authors, and many of them on here, if not most of them on here, I've had the privilege and honor to collaborate with them on different writing projects. Maybe some of them it's their own project, or sometimes they're writing a collaboration project with me. So today I have Karen Weber with me, and Karen, just want to introduce yourself, let people know who you are, and what you do.
Okay. Hi, I'm Karen Weber. My maiden name's Letty, so I've got a full name Karen Letty Weber. And I'm a wife of 25 years to my husband Colton. And we were blessed with 6 children. So we have children ages 24 to 11. And the oldest is married. So now I'm also a mother in law to a daughter in law. Our youngest child has Down syndrome. So, with having a diagnosis like that, I have another role, and that is special needs parent, special needs advocate. I homeschool my children. We have graduated 4 of them and have 2 to go. And also, I am a full time college student. I'm working on my bachelor's degree in early childhood and family studies.
Yeah, you are a busy mama for sure. So, how did you get into writing? I mean, with everything that you do, obviously, like most of us, it's like there's no time to write. But how did you get started?
Well, I was thinking about that last night, and I think I was going to say I've been writing ever since I can remember. I used to try to make little storybooks at home, but also I think one way that I learned to write was by my mother insisting that we children would write thank you notes. So
Mhm.
writing thank you notes and then also writing other letters to my grandmother and other relatives just kind of forced me to sit down and write even if I didn't feel like it, just because the hardest thing for me was getting started. But then as
Mhm.
I got into it, I realized that I actually enjoyed writing. I enjoyed those creative writing assignments in school. I hated it when it started, but then as soon as I got an idea, then I really loved it, because it's such a good way to express how I feel and what I've experienced, and I like to try to entertain other people also. I really felt a great achievement when my grandmother would laugh at something that I had told her about in a funny way, and so I just like to be able to make people see the humor in situations, the irony in
Mhm.
situations, and being able to laugh at them sometimes and then the other thing is just the being able to encourage other people. Um, that's one reason I'm so excited to be a part of your collaborations, because your whole it seems as though one of your whole purposes is hope, and I really like that, being able to share hope with other people.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And I'm honored too that you're been part of our collaboration. And not only for those of you watching and listening, Karen been part of the Made to Overcome Caregivers Edition that just was released in November 28th of 2020. So I give the full date because you never know when people will be watching this. I had someone actually send me a podcast that I did 2 years ago. I'm like, I even forgot that I did that.
Oh,
So now I give people the full date that when they're listening to it, they kind of know where I would know time wise, I guess, get a better idea of when this was done. But also, you were also an editor for one of a Nova book that I was publishing for someone else, for Nova Weber, but for
yeah.
Tracy, and so you also do editing, and that's I think for all of us authors and writers, we are so grateful people like you who can edit our work, and so because not just for me, I often say like English is my second language, but even in French, I will still need someone to edit for me, although which is my first language. And so knowing that there are people like you, who kind of lend their skills to do that, it's a blessing. And
Mhm.
I like how you got started writing and made me think about how often as kids we don't, nobody wants to sit there and write thank you letters. For all of us parents, like that's a good way to get your kids writing and help them kind of own that those writing skills. So thank you for
Mhm.
sharing that.
Yeah. Yeah, I it's funny I didn't mention editing, because that's really my profession is freelance editing, and I enjoy working as ever since March. I've been able to work with Proofit with Grammarly, and I love that. And then over the years, I've edited some other things, like even one of the most recent things has been memoirs of someone, Yvonne Malstead, who who lived in did some overseas work, and it's just really it was really a privilege to be able to read her story and get to edit that. And then I edited a science fiction trilogy for a doctor, and that was pretty cool because I first got that job for the first book in the 90s, and that was back before we really had the internet. So I would be writing with a red pen and then sending the copies back to him, and
Wow.
he'd send it to me. And then here years later, I got back in touch with him on Facebook and asked if he had ever gotten that book published. And then he was ready to be writing a sequel. So I got to edit
Right.
the next two books too. So that was pretty neat. The Alliance Chronicles by Jacques Pye, if you want to look it up on
Nice.
Amazon.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I know you and I met in totally different circles as, parents of children with special needs, and that's how we connected originally. And then when I knew that you're doing editing, I, kind of invited, asked you to help with some of the projects. I didn't even knew that you would do before asking that. I didn't know that you're working for Grammarly, and it's like, Grammarly and all this over resource that we use for a lot of us have down on computers, right? Whether you consider yourself a writer or not, we use it for emails and everything. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I actually know someone who works for Grammarly, so it's exciting. I'm like, I can call her friend. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty cool that you get to do that. You do that, and that we get to benefit from all your skills.
Mm, thank you. It was really a privilege to get to read Tracy's book, and all the people who collaborated with that one, Simply Dedicated. That's a really inspiring book.
Yeah. So when you do write, like, how do you get into the flow? Like, where do you find your inspiration?
Well, I guess I get my inspiration from reading a lot. I do read a lot of books, and not only books about things that I'm interested in, the subjects, and a lot of that is people. I like biographies, but also books about writing. I'm really interested in, I would like to be able to write some children's books, and maybe I'm jumping ahead to one of the other questions,
It's okay.
but right now I had finished a children's literature course, and now I'm reading some books about
Mm,
writing children's books. So it's a pretty, can be a pretty complex field actually.
mhm,
so so that's how I, and so to get into the flow of it, um, there's no real easy way for me to do that besides a cup of coffee. First of all, I gotta get my cup of coffee, and then just get started. My mom used to say, just put words on paper, just get something on paper. And so that's how I get into it. And um, so as far as inspiring me, another thing, I don't know if this fits in with the inspiration, but if I get some ideas or I come across a new word or a concept, I try to write it down. And even if it's not in an organized place, like a notebook specifically for that, just the exercise of writing it down solidifies it more in my mind. So later that will come out at some point. It's
mhm,
funny to go back and you come across papers with some ideas and go, oh, yeah, I've done that, or I've written more about that since then. That's
mhm.
where that idea came from. I'd
Yeah,
forgotten.
yeah. Yeah, and I think it's so important for all of us writers, like, just to get started and just keep writing. It doesn't matter what you're writing, but it keeps you, it keeps that practice, if you want, alive in you and active.
Mhm.
And then also, you just never know when that one phrase turns into a poem or a short story, when even that two paragraphs turns into a full
Mhm.
book.
Mhm.
So definitely, just keep writing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned wanting to get into children's book, and kind of right now you're starting to explore that. What might be other writing goals that you currently have?
Well, another thing is, I think about all the emails that I've written and then some other like social media posts that have to
Mhm,
do with our journey with special needs. And I think at some point, I would probably like to put some of that together. It seems as though I got a lot of encouragement and inspiration when our daughter was first born by
mhm,
reading other people's stories of similar experiences. And
right.
so if I can do that same thing, use my experiences to help other people, I was thinking of doing that.
Mhm,
Also, I do scrapbooking. I'm a creative memories advisor. And so one of the things that's really important to me, besides putting our pictures in an album, is to journal on the pages. And so I've made an album for each of our children so they know how
mhm,
special they are. And I'd like to just continue doing that, family albums.
mhm.
I'm way behind on those, but as long as I can just journal as I go, hopefully there'll be something that they'll be able to look back on and be encouraged when they
Yeah,
read it.
Nice. Yes. I mean, it's always good to have those memories, but then it's even, I think, even like it's not just it's heartfelt, but I think it we cherish it more when it's done with so much intention, you know?
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
Huh.
Well, awesome. So, what advice that you might have for new authors?
Okay. Well, one thing I would say is just read and keep writing. Just don't stop, even if you don't feel inspired at any given moment. And take advantage of other people you can learn from. Um, Sometimes they have writers guilds or writing workshops that are offered online or elsewhere. I would just say take advantage of
Mhm.
opportunities to do those. I just kept getting ads for Jerry Jenkins Writers Guild, and at one point it was offered at such a low price. It was something like trial offer, and maybe it was only, I don't know if it was just very low, like $1 or
Mhm.
$10 or something. And so I went ahead and signed up just for that short time and just to read some of the things that were available and see some of the videos. And that
Mhm.
was really helpful. And I thought if I have an actual project that I'm going to be working on that's more long term, I would probably look into revisiting something like that because of all the help that it can give. And then
Yeah,
you have the purposeful writers group and
collective.
so forth.
Yeah.
So those kinds of things, I just think the more we take advantage of those things, the better off we are.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and I think it's so writing is such a private activity that often we think that a writing journey has to be a solo, endeavor. When
Mm,
honestly, it's harder to do it alone. I know for myself, surrounding myself with other authors, whether it's locally, some local libraries now with COVID it might be different, but
mhm,
before all of this, before the pandemic, local libraries had writers groups like
mhm,
once a week on Saturday. Maybe it was like 2 Saturdays a month. And then there's plenty writers communities online, which one of them, like you said, is the one that I lead. And in there we share writing resources, writing opportunities, any workshop, any workshop that I have coming up, but also even just people can share their own work and we promote each other's work. And I love that it's such a safe place that we can all learn and grow.
mhm,
And that's really important. So for all authors there, I definitely echo what Karen is saying. Like, don't, you might have to write alone, but don't make your writing journey a solo endeavor. Like,
mm.
connect with
That's
others.
good.
Mhm. Yeah.
That should be on a poster or something.
Well, maybe I'll make a graphic for that for the group.
Yeah.
That could be our mantra for 2021 in the
Yeah.
writing school. Like, yeah, don't
We
do
could
it
make
alone. Don't.
writing journals with that.
There you go. Awesome. So, is there anything that you learned? I guess this is one of the advice you gave, something that you learned along the way. But is there anything else, maybe last words that you might want to share before you let us know how to know where people can find you?
Okay. Well, I guess I do want to, just that I already did a shout out to my mother for her inspiration, and actually, she's also the inspiration behind editing because she's
Mm,
always good at helping find mistakes in writing, and teaching me good grammar. But I also want to
nice.
thank my husband because he's always really encouraging to me, even when
Mm,
I just say, "Oh, there's no way I'm going to get this report done for school in time. I don't know what I'm going to do." And he always says, "I
mm,
have full confidence in you. You'll be able to do it." So that just having that encouragement has really helped. And then, without the Lord Jesus Christ, I couldn't do anything. And even the joy that we'd have from writing and from
mm,
interacting with people, it would kind of be superficial if we didn't have the eternal hope in Him. So that's
mm.
that's my main source of inspiration.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I thank the Lord for that.
Yeah, definitely echo that. Without him, we cannot do anything. The inspiration, the skills, and the connections. I'm just like you. I too am grateful for just how he blesses us to do the work that we get to do. Yeah. Where can people find you?
Okay. Well, my email address is editorkweb@gmail.com. That's a good way to reach me for things that have to do with writing.
Mhm.
Um, and I saw one of the other interviews you did, someone mentioned LinkedIn. I thought, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So I need to update my LinkedIn and people could find me that way, I'm sure,
Mhm.
or through Facebook. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to do this, and we'll make sure that we add that in the description as well, like your email and how people can reach out to you. That way, it's right there and accessible that way.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for letting me just be a part of all your writing projects that you've allowed me to be a part of, and it's really a privilege to know you as a friend, and then now as like a writing partner.
Yeah, we're back at you. Thanks for being part of all these projects. I know this is only the beginning, and
Mm,
there's definitely other things, and as your time allowed as well, that I want to keep inviting you back for those projects.
thank you.
Yeah.